I actually wanted to tell two stories. Okay, let me begin with the first story. The first story related about Mendel Futafas. We're talking about him at the Lav Malcolm at Shabbos. And this is a story that he related in one of his Fabrengens. So one of the Chassidim of the Rebbe Marash, not having children, I'm sure more than once, asked the Rebbe for a bracha for children, but the Rebbe Marash did not respond. Okay? So once there was a Fabrengen in his house, they were Fabrengen late into the night, and guess what happens? The mashke runs out. They try to get mashke, of course, late at night, where are you going to get it? And there wasn't. I'm just calling it a Mendel now. So the pain of the Chassidim was deep. It's calling it a Mendel. Now the woman of the house, this was in the house of the Chassid that didn't have children, the wife. When she saw what happened, so she comes into the room and she says, pours out a bitter soul, and she says, if you'll give me an assurance that I'll have a child, I'll get mashke for you, as much as you want. So the Chassidim didn't hesitate. And they said, yeah, gave her a bracha that she'll have a child this year and bring him up to Torah Chuppah Maisim Tovim. She did as she promised, and she procured the l'chaim, and the promise of the Chassidim also was quick to materialize. Within a few weeks, she became pregnant, and a healthy pregnancy. So the Chassid ran to the Rebbe, and he says, the Rebbe, why didn't the Rebbe bless me? He was very thankful and grateful, but he couldn't understand why the Rebbe Marash did not give him the bracha. So the Rebbe put his holy head on his arm in deep thought. And then after some considerable time, he lifted up his head and he said to him as follows. Now, I'm not going to venture an explanation why he had to do that, but there's another story of the Alter Rebbe where he put his head down before he answered. It happens. We find this sometimes in the stories. I'll just say this. It's because often this is not normally revealed to people. You have to kind of fight with heaven to get permission to tell him. That's often. None of this is the case here, but that's often the case. With the Baal Shem Tov, where there's a delay in an answer, because there's a heavenly struggle going on. So this is what he said to him. He said, Hashem's blessings, the divine blessings that we all seek are three things, of course. Bona chayim azayna. We want children, first of all, and nachas. We want health. We want sustenance. However, sometimes heaven has prescribed a limited hashpah. It's even possible that one of these channels is blocked. Now, it doesn't go into detail. That has to do with reincarnation, all kinds of a host of other what's what I'm looking for? Factors. Now, he says, intense prayer can sometimes fulfill that which is lacked. However, that will be on the cheshbon of one of the other channels. You'll get this, but not the other. So that said the Marash to the Chassid, I refrained from blessing you because I knew that if I would do this through his prayer, the Rebbe Marash would affect this change, but that would mean that you would have to die very young. Life would be taken from you and you'd have the child. The Chassidim, on the other hand, don't know what's happening in heaven, and they blessed you, and the blessing is happening. They can imagine the Chassid is standing and hearing this. That's it. His days are up. Now, again, he puts his head down on his arm, and again, not clearly. This is my explanation. I'm offering this. I shouldn't say clearly, but again, because he's battling heaven. First to reveal this to him, and now to do the following. And after considerable time, the Rebbe Marash picked up his head and he looks at the Chassid and he says, and because Chassidim don't know, so from this should come a negative consequence. No, he said. Nay. You and your wife should have arichas yomim v'shanim toivus, long good life, and bring up your child to Torah, chuppah ma'asim tovim, with archava, with abundance, begashmis and beruchnis. Mendel concludes, and so the bracha was fulfilled. It's a beautiful story. That, like every story, has many layers that each one could contemplate. But back to the first thing that that strikes me is the power of the bracha of Chassidim. When Yidden, and they meant it sincerely because they meant it sincerely. They wanted the l'chaim, and they meant it sincerely. Obviously, that their dear brother, friend, should be blessed with a child. I mean, facetious. They said that with all their heart. So we all know that what Yidden can do, Chassidim can do, what Chassidic Fabrengen, even the angel Michal cannot do. And here we're finding even more, that even if that bracha would mean that you're playing with the heavenly channels, and you've brought down one, but you may be blocking another, we don't have to be concerned with that. You bless with your whole heart, and the Rebbe Marash is assuring and has effected and wrought that the bracha is fulfilled, and God forbid, not at the expense of any other. And we also see, by the way, another thing, that not always would the Rebbe give a bracha, and here we're getting like the inside story, why the bracha isn't forthcoming. So it's quite an amazing story that opens up what's happening in heaven when brachas are given. At any rate, as far as we're concerned, the Chassidim, we bless each other with a full heart and in every measure, in every area of life. And Bana, Chaya, Umazayna, so should it be for all of us and all Yidden. Hashem bless them, us, with children, nachas from children, Chassidish nachas, and good health, and good parnasa, and all three in, as the Rebbe would always insist, berevich, and great abundance.
Rabbi, could it be because of the fact that it was such hein beinayim of the blessing of the Hasidim, that is like a child who pleases his father? He says, I wasn't going to give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you because of the hein that I see in you.
The Rebbe Marash had to fix it. The Rebbe Marash had to fix it, which he did. We just heard. I wanted to, I don't know, there's such a beautiful story. I wanted to share this. And
thank you.
It's a separate story. This is an amazing thing. Should I say it? Okay, we'll say it already. Related by Schollenberg Gansberg, may have it for Shleimer. Schollenberg Gansberg was one of the people that worked in the Rebbe's house and the Rebbe's office. Never married, and quite an interesting fellow. And we would go to New York and daven in the Rebbe's room. He's the one that had the key. I don't know if he's the only one, but it's one of the only ones that have the keys. The rest of the secretaries do not. So, Schollenberg Gansberg related as follows. This took place very close to the Rebbe's stroke in 1992. He was in the Rebbe's office, and all of a sudden the Rebbe starts to speak, and the Rebbe is pacing back and forth in his room. This is most unusual. And I'll read the Yiddish and I'll translate. Ich bin geboren geworden in a Freitag. I was born on a Friday, the Rebbe said. And as man wird geboren in a Freitag, a person born on Friday is man als spät. It's always late, because when Friday we're rushing. Ich bin als spät, I'm always late. Und ich kann gar nicht anjagen, I can never catch up to that which I'm trying to do. That was kind of saying that I'm not achieving what I need to do. And he said other words, but I don't remember them, says Reb Schollenberg. After some time, I gathered strength, and I said, how could the Rebbe say this? There's no one that did in the world like the Rebbe did. The Rebbe turned the whole world over, unrecognizably so. And all the Bali Tshuva that the Rebbe were made in his chus, that drew near to Hashem in the Rebbe's merit. And Yiddish, the Rebbe ibegedreit the Welt, the Rebbe turned the world over. And I said some more words he said, but I don't remember exactly the content. However, he says, when I said these words, and I mentioned the Bali Tshuva, that those that come close to Hashem in the Rebbe's merit, the Rebbe responded, no good. Like if so, is good. And I could see that I had appeased the Rebbe. You should know this story had happened before also with the Tzemach Tzedek, his namesake, a very similar story. I was saying that it's all for naught. And when his Rabbi said to him, he pointed to the Svarim that he wrote, to his Torah, and Tzemach Tzedek said that's small money. He quoted some Russian coin. It's nickels and dimes. But when the Chaim Ber, I think his name was, when he said to Tzemach Tzedek, but the Bali Tshuva that Rebbe made, this actually mentioned Chatzkel, the Eglin, the wagon driver, whoever it was, the Rebbe was Makadev. When he heard that, his mind was put at rest. In fact, he didn't want to leave his room, and then he got up and he said, Chassidus. Anyway, so you should just know that the tremendous naches that someone, the schus, to Bal Tshuva in the truest and beautiful sense, to come to Yiddishkeit, should know the tremendous naches that this is causes the Rebbe, and not just the naches, like the only naches, is the only thing that the Rebbe finds within this. Yeah, okay. Baruch Hashem, and his mind at rest. Have a wonderful day. We'll continue now with davening.